Arr! Ahoy there, me fellow pirates. Trying to get my treasure map? Trying to steal me gold? Arr! Trying to steal my too small hat? Hey! Welcome back, readers. You ready to pirate read another story? This time, I want you to think about using a compass. Compass always points north. Our true north is going to be built with all the schema that we develop from all the stories that we read together or we read alone. So what I want you to think when you read is, first, flying the flag of a pirate. Next, using your inner compass to guide you to all of the treasure. That's how you'll find the treasure. Using your map and your compass. With your one good eye. So that's fun, and I do it in my classroom. It's kind of fun to do it here because remember, if you want to be a good writer, the key to really good writing is reading and reading and reading and reading. The more you read, the more likely you are to find treasure. So in the story we're going to share today, Michael Hall's read a crayon story. I want you to think very carefully about what the treasure is. What? Uh-oh. This is published by my favorite, Scholastic. Whoa. Remember, you can get books, you can get reference material, teachers can get teacher guides. You could even, I think, buy some movies. And they also have great resources online. Lots of informational text to support your learning. Read. Not R-E-A-D, like we read the story, but read, R-E-D, the color. A crayon story. Michael Hall read a crayon story. As told by me. He was read. But he wasn't very good at it. Oh dear. His teachers thought he needed more practice. I'll draw a red strawberry. Then you draw a red strawberry. You can do this. Really. But he couldn't. Really. Like this? Oh my. Let's try again. His mother thought he needed to mix with other colors. Why don't you two go out and draw a nice round orange? A really big one. A really orange one. But they made a big greenish one. Yuck! Oops. His grandparents thought he wasn't warm enough. Your class is making self-portraits for Parents' Night. Wear this warm red scarf. Nice. It's so you. But it so wasn't. Oh, dear me. Everyone seemed to have something to say. Sometimes I wonder if he's really read at all. Don't be silly, it says read on his label. He came that way from the factory. Frankly, I don't think he's very bright. Well, I think he's lazy. Right, he's got to press harder. Really apply himself. Give him time, he'll catch on. Of course he will. But he didn't catch on. Green frog, black sheep, brown cow. Red? Ah! It's supposed to be an ant. All the art supplies wanted to help. The masking tape thought, he was broken inside. This will help hold you together. The scissors thought, his label was too tight. One snip should do it. I thought it wasn't sharp enough. Stay still now. But even with all our help and all his work, he just couldn't get the hang of it. Look at the stop sign. One day he met a new friend. Will you make a blue ocean for my boat? I can't. I'm red. Will you try? So he did. Thank you, it's perfect. You're welcome. It was easy. And he didn't stop there. Blue jeans, blue bells, blue bird, blueberries, blue well. I'm blue. He was whoosh, 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 red, whoosh, 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 blue. And everyone was talking. My son is brilliant. Who could have known he was blue? I always said he was blue. It was obvious. His blue ocean really lifted me. All of his work makes me happy. His blue strawberries are my favorite. He's so intense. I'm going to make him a green lizard. I'm going to make a green lizard with him. A really big one. I hear he's working on a huge new project. He's really reaching for the sky. And he really was. All right, one of the things that I loved in this book is how, again, inanimate objects, we've seen that on other stories, inanimate objects become the main characters. And when we're lifting our good ideas and looking for our treasure inside this book, one of the things is how the author and illustrator, and it's done by the same person, Michael Halland had the two big jobs, is how he did drawings that really look like I could draw that. They weren't perfect like what I usually see in books. They look like things that I'm able to draw. So when we lift out the treasure today, one of the things I want you to think about is how the work that you do right now is publishable. We often think we have to become something more for it to be enough. Michael Hall shows us in this book that just our scribbles, the work that we can do when we first start to hold a crayon, is really enough. I love that. So when you're working on a book today, draw what you see in your mind's eye. Commit it down to paper. And well with pride, because your work is comparable to this work. And this is work that Scholastic put into a book, bound, and sells for money. That's a pretty big deal. I also like how inanimate objects became the main characters. So as we read it, I can identify with the ideas, but I don't not see myself in the pages because the characters don't necessarily look like me. If I don't see characters that are older, that wear glasses and have longer hair, I might not relate to what they're thinking or saying when I can see them. But crayons, I can totally relate to those. So today, if you have a really great personal narrative that you want to tell, you could use inanimate objects to do that. He also didn't use speech bubbles, but he technically used captured speech without the bubble. Throughout the whole text, the inanimate objects, the crayons, are talking. Now, there aren't speech bubbles and there aren't quotation marks around what they're saying, but as a reader, I know when the text is over those objects that my job is to read it as if they were saying it. So I gave them different voices because the crayons were different colors. So as an author, as a pirate author today, what you can do is either color your objects differently or use different objects. You could put your speech ideas above them or next to them, and you don't necessarily even have to put the bubble around it with the little point to their mouths. They don't actually have mouths. And your readers will also know that what you're trying to convey to them is that they need to make these objects have a different voice and speak. Now, beyond the literary lift, what we're stealing out of it for our own writing, another thing I want you to think about is how this sits in and works with growth mindfulness. The most important thing we start with is love. And that love has to start with our love for ourselves. If we don't feel self-love, we're not going to have other love. So I love me. This is me, a super teacher. That crayon, that blue crayon dressed in the red sleeve, never degraded himself. He never said things that he wasn't good in, like he wasn't good enough. He never looked at others and felt like he didn't match up. He just kept trying. He had a lot of self-love. And he kept working for his purpose. Now, your purpose is the reason for being made or created or here. The purpose of life is not just to be happy. It is to be useful, to be honorable and compassionate, to have it make a positive difference in the world, that you came and lived well. So he kept trying to figure out what his purpose was. And what he used throughout the whole story is grit. He had the power to stay with it until he succeeded. Grit is courage and resolve and strength of character. And that is exactly what Red had. So today, and in all the days that follow, I want you to think about your stories and how all the stories that we share, that you share with other people, like other teachers and moms and dads and grandmas and grandpas, and things that you read with your own two eyes, or that you listen to on a Kindle or a computer, or that you hear a brother or sister tell or say. Those stories should inform all of your writing. This was awesome sharing this story with you. Until later, Gator, have some pride, lots of stories, millions of words, and a whole bunch of super teacher love. It was awesome. Hope to see you again. Until then, super teacher.